So let's take a look at the 73 kilo weight class. This division is stacked. There are tons of athletes in here. Let's take a look at some upsets, some hidden gems, and see who pulls it out here at the end. Let's go. Let's start here at the top, and let's just kind of go through some of these first round matchups just really quick. So first round, I'm gonna go with Tajikistan. Where's our next one? Let's go. Kosovo is going to win here. We got to get the tournament started so we have a full bracket. Cheney's winning this one from France, no problem. Let's keep it going. Who's down here? This is an irrelevant match, but let's go. Algeria wins that easy. Okay, so now we have our first round where everybody's got a match. We got the kind of, oh, hey, you got a bad draw and you had a first match into the tournament. So looking at this, there are a couple of things that we have to talk about. First one, you got to throw them in here. Right here in Pool A, we have Shohei Ono of Japan, who's probably pound for pound one of the best judo players in the world today. So the fact that he got thrown into this bracket unseeded says a lot, and I think I just have to go with what the world is thinking, and they just think this is going to happen. He's just gonna walk his way all the way to the final, and I can't come up with a good argument against it, just because of how skilled he is. I mean, he could get injured, he could be competing hurt, a lot of things could affect this outcome. He could just wake up with the common cold on this day. So I'm not 100% set, but, barring the fact that he's 100% healthy, I think that's what we're going to see. But he's not going to have an easy path to get there. There are some people that can upset him when we're looking at Pool A here, right? The first guy that can upset him really is going to be the Turk, because he's got some very unorthodox judo, and if you're not 100% engaged, 100% focused on the match the entire time, he could catch Ono. In a traditional match, just played over the long run, I think Ono wins that matches most of the time. But the Turk could oopsie him. He could steal a match out from underneath Ono. So if this is going to be a match you're going to want to watch. Right here, Gambia versus Tajikistan. Let's just go Tajikistan here, and then we have a tough first round. We have Magushkov versus Orijov from Azerbaijan. Russia versus Azerbaijan. So Magushkov is an older player. He has tons of experience. He has a lot of really big wins under his belt. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna have to go with this matchup. And then I think the guy from Tajikistan is gonna be an easy match for Orijov. So let's just go like that. Perfect. And then let's highlight that up. And let's see what we got. Boom. Just like that. The Turk comes over, Tajikistan comes up. There we go. So I'm pretty sure that's how Pool A is going to play out for us. Something to note that if Russia wins this match, he's definitely winning here, and we're going to see a Russia versus Japan quarterfinal. But let's come up here into Pool B. Let's take a look at Pool B as we're working through this draw and see if there's anything of note throughout the bracket. There are only 3 guys in the entire division here that I think we should be talking about as a whole. Obviously, the 2 seeds are one of them. We have number 5 and number 4. Number 4 being from Sweden, number 5 being from Mongolia. After that, there's 2 names here in this pool. We have Kosovo, who's kind of started to make a name for himself. He hasn't quite climbed to that top of the podium consistently all the time, but he is a dangerous player. I've never trained with him, but he looks strong, explosive, knows what he's doing. And then the other one here is the United Arab Emirates. He used to be the number 1 player in the world, I believe, at one point years ago. So he does have the skill, he does have the talent, but I feel like he's on the downslope of his career. But those are the 4. And now when we look at this part of the bracket and we say that, you notice that there's no additional lines really down here for the number 5 seed. So I think when we look at the number 5 seed and what he has to go through in order to get to the quarters, I think we can do something like this, just nice and easy. Guy had a great draw. We're putting him in the quarter, no questions asked. Super easy, and this just happens every once in a while. When you're looking at draws, especially ones that of this size, sometimes competitive people don't end up to get somewhere into the quarter, right? So Mongolia is definitely going to outshine all 3 of these players. That's not to say it is judo. He could, just not pay attention or take somebody way too lightly and get caught. It does happen, but I think anybody looking at this portion the way I am is doing the same thing. Up here, though, it's a little bit, well, let's just pencil this in really quick. I don't know. I'm going to go M-O-N just because I have no idea why. We just got to make a choice because we got to fill the bracket out. It's the name of the game, fill the bracket out. Now, up here, it's a little bit more challenging because these 3 guys, I think, can all beat each other on any given day. But if I had to make like who's 1, who's 2, who's 3, I think I'm going with, out of these 3 people, the Swedish boy is obviously at the top, followed by Kosovo, followed by the UAE. So we're going to advance Kosovo here over the kid from Switzerland, and then I think right here, I just have to go with Sweden. I just have to. And same thing with Kosovo. Like I said, I think he's just slightly ahead in skill, slightly ahead in experience, and he'll be able to pull that off, barring any catastrophes. Just like that. And I think that's what we're gonna see coming through this draw. And then when we look at Mongolia versus Sweden, I'm not 100% sure who's going to be the best prepared for this tournament. They're going in 4 and 5. It is a toss-up who wins overall. I don't know what the head-to-head is for these 2 players, so we're going off gut instinct over what I think is going to happen. I'm really tempted to pull Mongolia into the semifinals is where my head's at and my gut is telling me. He just had such an easy road. I think I have to. I think his confidence is going to be through the roof. And I think he's just going to have that easy path all the way through. But he is losing to Japan. No questions asked there. I don't think he can compete with Ono. He doesn't have the style of judo for it. So here we are. We're down here into the second half where, again, we have some upsets and some people that, are going to cause some headaches. But let's break this down just by pool so that we can see. And I'm going to pull out a different color here. And so we have the seeds, obviously, of very importance. And now, before we push them off into the quarterfinals, we have to look at who is in here that they can beat. I'm looking at the Canadian right now on this side of the bracket, and I'm going, he's walking through this, no problem. No problem at all. So I'm just going to take the Canadian, and we're putting him in the quarter. No questions asked. I can't imagine that anybody here actually beats him. I do think when we're looking at this Armenia versus Kazakhstan match, it is a toss-up. Stylistically, they're both the same. But if I had to pick somebody, I'm just going to go Kazakhstan. I don't think it matters because, like I said, I think the Canadian is head and shoulders above them. Here, though, when we're looking at this side of the draw here for this quarter, the only real player that poses a threat is the French boy. And it happens very early on. So I'm going to say right now that whoever wins this match is in the quarter with the Canadian. And I think if we're optimistic and you're thinking about the draw in terms of like who you want to see end up, if you wanted to see the Canadian in the semifinal, you would put France right here, because I think once the French boy comes through into this bracket, he'll advance on, and then the Canadian will beat the French guy. But I think what I have to do here is I have to go Georgia and then Georgia right here. And I think my gut instinct tells me he's just got the experience to pull that out. And then right here, I guess we have to make a choice. It's 100% irrelevant. I don't think either of these players can compete. So we're just gonna go DJI, right? They're just outclassed by both those players on the top. It's not even a contest. But let's come down here and figure out who this quarterfinal is gonna be, because again, we have some upsets. So let's break down this bracket just as a whole. So when we're looking at Pool D, we have the Israeli and On as the seeded players, but there are some people that can upset here. So the Cuban is talented, he is strong, he can mix it up with anybody in here. He may not win, but he's definitely competitive. The other person that's of note is the current Olympic champion at 66 kilos, so the weight class below, Fabio Basili of Italy, who fights the number 3 Korea. I would have loved to have done some statistic research before this so that I could see if these two have ever fought, how many times, and who holds the wins currently between the two of them. The other person that's not to be overlooked is the German or the Uzbekistan player. Both dangerous, both middle of the road guys. They can take these guys the distance, and if these guys can get either of the seeded ones into golden score, it's very easy for them to hit a foot sweep, pin them, armbar them, stumble into a technique that's not normal for them and pull out big wins as we see ourselves go through the draw. But at the end of the day, we have to make some tough choices. I think looking at this part of the bracket, it's really easy to just kind of say, hey man, I know Cuba is a tough round, right? Because I'm going to advance the Cuban all the way through here. I know he's tough, but I have faith. And I think we're going to see the Cuban fall right there. He's definitely a talented guy, so this could go either way here with Moldova. But I think whoever wins this, they're falling to Israel anyways, which is why I've pushed him straight through. But this bracket, this top half of Pool D, like when we're looking at, let me change this color up back here to red. When we're looking at this matchup right here as a whole, so this one, right, 27-28, right, match 46. Either one of these guys could win. Same thing here. Man, this is a toss-up right here between Fabio and On. And I'm not sure, I'm not 100% sure what to say. I think if I have to go with what the people are gonna say, not necessarily what I want to see happen, I think what everybody wants to see is On actually do this. Oops. Let me highlight this really quick. I think they want to see this. Right? Because then once we've done that, the next logical thing is to have Ono versus On. And I think there was an upset at the Asian Games where On and Ono were in the final and it was a 7-minute golden score. And there was a point in the match where On threw or didn't throw Ono for a possible score. And then at the very end, Ono ended up with a score and the whole thing was questionable. So I think everybody would love to see that repeat and see what happens. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say we're going to see it. Korea. And we're going to see that final. And then I think right here between the German and the Uzbekistan player, again, toss up here. I guess we're going to go Germany just because. And then when we come up here, we have Korea versus Japan in the final. And I think I'm going to do something that not everybody wants to see. I think I'm going to do this. And I'm going to say Ono's going to lose it on home soil. And we're going to put the Korean as the Olympic champion. I'm just going to pencil that in here. Again, I think the Korean feels like he should have won and beaten him at the Asian Games. And I think he's going to be coming to prove a point. And Ono's got a lot of pressure on him being at home, you know, being the favorite to win. It's going to weigh on him. And I think the longer that match goes on, if On can take it into deep waters, the more it's going to weigh on Ono mentally to make sure he stays positive, stays engaged, doesn't make any mistakes. And the longer that match goes, the harder that is to do as an athlete. And I think the Korean will be able to benefit from that. So let's take a look. Who do we have losing the semifinal here? I think we're going to go with Georgia. And let's advance him through. Boom. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Here we go. Let's fill this in. So right here we have Georgia losing to Korea, who crosses over. And then up here we have Mongolia losing to Japan. And then we have Israel. And I believe it's the Canadian. And then Sweden versus AZE. Perfect. So there's our repechage. We have Azerbaijan versus Sweden, Canada versus Israel, and in the bronze medal matches, we have Georgia waiting and Mongolia waiting to see who's going to advance. And I'm just going to gunsling it out there. We're going to go Azerbaijan. That was craziness. What did I do there? Versus Canada. And that's going to be the way they're going to advance through. So let's push these guys over. Let's push the Canadian over, no problem. And I think what I want to do, I'm just going to say the Canadian's going to bronze. I'm going to give it to him. You know, he missed out in Rio, I believe, when he broke his wrist like 2 or 3 weeks before the game. So it is what it is. And then this is actually a tough match to pick. The Georgian's just so scrappy, and I think he really gets up for the Olympics. So I'm going to give it to him. And then over here, we have Canada. And that's going to be the 73 kilo weight class at the Olympic Games.